Hello and a very warm welcome to all our viewers. You're watching the CricketNext YouTube channel. My name is Kanav Bali and I'm here to talk about the Border Gavaskar Trophy. The series is currently leveled 1-1. The third test will be played in the city of Brisbane starting Saturday, that is 14th of December. But in this live, we are not going to talk about the on-field BGT, that's the playing 11, the pitch conditions, the players in form, the players out of form. The thing we are going to talk about today is the off the field Border Gavaskar Trophy. एक अलग ही टूर्नामेंट, एक अलग ही challenge होता है off the field ऑस्ट्रेलिया में. It is said that it's not easy to tour Australia, especially to play test cricket, and it is, I certainly believe, more so than the off-field stuff than the on-field stuff. I have with me Jamie Alter and Taus Rizvi, and today we are going to talk about the Aussie Mind Game Challenge that every player, not just from India but across the globe, faces when they land in Australia, when they land down under. Hi Jamie, hi Taus. Jamie, I'll start with you. We'll start with a basic. What's your basic take on the off-field stuff that a cricketer gets to face on in Australia? We often say that any tour down under is not easy, and it's mostly obviously because of the pitch conditions, the batting conditions, bowling conditions, but also the media scrutiny, the hostile crowd that a player gets to see. Former cricketers who played very smart, they give a very right comment at the very right time, maybe just to put a player off the mark. Your basic take on the mind games that the Australian media, Australian players, and former cricketers play in Australia.
See, I think in that order, you're giving me three options: media, former players, and the fans. अब former players और media लगभग हम कह सकते हैं वो एक ही उसमें आ गए, right? So they're getting paid. So I'm not going to give them anything. बहुत लोग बोल चुके हैं. Half of their predictions, like mine on this show, end up being wrong. तो उनको मारो गोली. What impacts the players? See, players have a choice to not look at the screen, not read papers. Half the guys won't even read the papers. ठीक है, जो हमारे होते हैं इंडियन वाले. What gets to them? It's the fans. But in 60 years, 70 years of going to Australia, to my mind, only two players actually reacted. 12 में एक थोड़ा naive, inexperienced, गुस्सा वाला विराट कोहली, he gave the finger. और पिछले बार मोहम्मद सिराज walked up to the umpires, right? And even there, many Aussies who I've spoken to said they weren't even saying something. वो थोड़ा English language में लॉस्ट हो गया. तो अगर इतने सालों में केवल दो प्लेयर पे असर पड़ा, is it actually getting to them? You never heard of a Sachin, Lakshman, Dravid do anything. Maybe they were cut from a tougher cloth. Maybe they were from an era where you just didn't respond. ये थोड़े इस era के the विराट कोहली, the सिराज, और दोनों में कॉमन क्या है? दोनों थिएट्रिकल खुद है बहुत, right? So I don't read too much. मैं ये नहीं कह रहा हूँ कि वहां जाके आसान है. I've heard of stories. I've heard of some downright dirty things. A very senior Indian cricket journalist who's been an editor for a long time. He had बल्कि an empty KFC bucket with some chewed on bones thrown at him years ago, right? तो यहाँ पे वो है सब. But does it affect the players? Yes. But how many players have actually come up and said something? दो ही तो हैं, तो it's all part of a job. I think English Premier League footballers have it much harder in the UK with all those racist chants. It's all part of the game, man. And I think going back to the first tour, I mean, back in the Don Bradman days, the Indian players back to the Lala Amarnath days, they just said, "Koi nahi yaar, ye hota hai. Let's play." So has it actually become a problem? I don't think so.
Yeah. Well, this is actually very interesting that the players, although they get to face all this, but they more often than not they don't react or don't get affected by it, or at least don't show. But Taus, we'll come to the nitty-gritties of it, all the incidents that we have been talking about. Your take on the off-the-field tournament that goes on in Australia, be it BGT, Ashes, or any other series. The crowd are also the players. They also play mind games. They also take part in that rivalry. And I believe now in today's time, it's more off the field than on the field. On the field, everything is now all la la land, all good amongst the players, but the crowd is still the same. The former cricketers, actually, they are usually very riled up. They give statements after every incident. They have something to say. I do agree they get paid for it, but I think these are also very smart statements. Your overall take on off the field antics in Australia?
No, absolutely. I mean, player, unless, I mean, it requires to be mentally very tough when you go to Australia. I mean, mentally, because it's not just the cricketers on field where you have to face those deadly bouncers, which might also take your life if you don't have a proper technique. But also, those tough words from media, those jabs, those taunts from cricketers, and then those unruly fans. Sometimes it takes on you. So every visiting team, they don't have it very easy. But then
Yeah.
international cricket jab khel rahe ho, to you have to be very very tough, because you face different situations, right? And you overcome it. If you then you'll be successful. So the good part has been, like, whatever we have seen of Sachin and Jamie Bhai said, the the Fab Five have done fabulous job without responding. They have been, there have been monkey gates on field, off the field, but the way they responded, superbly they responded. And then incidents regarding Virat Kohli, and then the way he bounced back. Siraj, the way he took this guy's wicket. I mean, it's not just on field, verbal भी हो जाता है, तो verbal मतलब action के बाहर हो जाता है, and that is the beauty of Australia. I wouldn't say beauty. Sometimes these ugly incidents make this gentleman game very, very, fun watching, and that's why we watch Australia, right? Australia have been very, very tough team, and it's been like. But this series, before this series, if we saw the newspapers, आपने flash किया था अभी, और इसके पहले भी हमने एक शो भी किया था, जिस तरह से ऑस्ट्रेलिया ने वेलकम किया न्यूज़पेपर में आके, पंजाबी, हिंदी, या युगों की लड़ाई, ये सब, इट्स अ ब्यूटीफुल वेलकम. ऐसा आपने कब देखा है? पहले बहुत कम देखा है. तो ऑब्वियसली आईपीएल ने जमाना बदल दिया, और यहाँ पर मैं बोलूंगा, सिर्फ ऑस्ट्रेलिया नहीं, सोशल मीडिया ने गेम को बड़ा कर दिया, बहुत ओपन कर दिया. तो अगर आप एक्सपेक्ट करें सिर्फ ऑस्ट्रेलियन फैंस, यहाँ पर इंडियन फैंस भी उतना ही खतरनाक है, उतना ही डेडली. इट्स नॉट इजी टू डील विद देम, एंड द वे, आई मीन, यू विल सी अ लॉट ऑफ इंडियन क्रिकेटर्स नॉट रिस्पॉन्डिंग टू Australian fans, but you have seen a lot of Australian players responding to Indian fans on social media. कभी ऊपर, कभी नीचे, कभी पॉजिटिव, कभी नेगेटिव, बट दे हैव रिस्पॉन्डेड. सो यहाँ पर लेवल प्लेइंग फील्ड है, चाहे वो आप यहाँ पर आए, चाहे हम वहां पर जाए. But it's up to you. It's up to a cricketer how they respond to a situation. And before going to Australia, I mean, there must be some few classes, maybe from captains, maybe from coach, maybe from officials, senior officials, maybe senior cricketers. They may have been taught a few lessons how to deal with those fans, how to deal with the cricket, with the media. So ये सब
Yeah.
training दी जाती है. Otherwise, you would see a cricketer from Indian team handling those press conferences in a beautiful way, despite language barrier. No controversy coming out of it is something, जैसे गरम नाइफ को बटर से काटते हैं, वैसे ही हर प्रेस कॉन्फ्रेंस होता है, स्मूथ होता है, ज्यादा कंट्रोवर्सी में नहीं पड़ता. एंड दैट इज द ब्यूटी, आई थिंक, विद द इंडियन क्रिकेटर्स. स्ट्रेट जाते हैं, ऊपर नीचे कुछ नहीं होता. जो ऑस्ट्रेलियन बैंटर्स, दे टॉक स्ट्रेट, that is different. But Indian cricketers have been doing a very professional job. Cricket to cricket,
Yeah.
इधर उधर इंसिडेंट होता है, सिराज कोहली, that is part and parcel of the game. वो हर जगह भी होता है.
Yeah,
Pranav,
absolutely.
I'll
And
just add,
yeah,
let's
yeah,
not
Jimmy.
forget, हमने हमने इस पे शो पे भी डिस्कस किया था. The biggest reaction from the Indian camp has been to Indian fans, not to the Aussies. वो जो 2000 इंडियन फैंस आके अपने आप की बेइज्जती कर रहे थे, that was the strongest reaction. The Indian fans don't care. Half the time it's just a drunk Australia, वो बोल रहा है वो. इनको what got under their skin? इनके खुद देश वाले जो बोलते हैं, ए गुज्जू में बात कर, ए मेरे रील पे आ जा, ए मोटे. So the actual problem is, or equal problem is Indian fans not even under the influence of alcohol. So let's also keep that in mind.
No, no, absolutely, absolutely. It goes both ways. And by Australian crowd, I mean also the Indians who live there. They are also very hostile. But what they did in the practice session, well, that was certainly not good, and that is something that will always, be unwelcomed. And I think the Indian team did right. But Jamie, you talked about that in the last 15, 20, or 60 years. In fact, you said that we have only seen two players reacting. That is Virat Kohli and Mohammed Siraj. Virat Kohli, I believe it was unnecessary. He could have controlled himself. Mohammed Siraj, I believe he did the right thing. Whenever there are racist, remarks being passed, go to the umpire. That's the right way. Instead of fighting with the fan yourself, go to the umpire, tell them, and the right thing was done. They were thrown out of the stadiums. But do you think बाहर हमने देखा दो प्लेयर्स को रिएक्ट करते हैं, बट could these sort of things have affected the players internally, जिन्होंने रिएक्ट ना किया हो पिच पे, ग्राउंड पे, उन्होंने कोई एक्शन ना किया हो, कंप्लेंट ना किया हो, but when they go to their hotel room, especially young players, whenever they tour Australia for the first time, they hear such sort of things. They don't do well. Media scrutiny in Australia, fans saying something while they are at the boundary. क्या वो internally players को affect कर सकता है, young players को?
Absolutely, but again, you like just go to the Kotla when Tamil Nadu is playing Delhi or when Kerala is playing Delhi. आपको ऐसी चीजें इनको वहां पे सुनने को, and I'm not talking about the common, hey, it's Madrasi. I've mentioned that I've seen Indian test players 20 तो लोग बैठे हैं तो कोटला के ऐसी गालियां उसको दे रहे हो तो when you come to that system, and let's face it, inherently India is a racist country, right? तो आप racism, आप गाली गलौज, आप वो सुन चुके हो. So by the time you get there, like Tosbhai said, you should be ready for it. But yes, that's, I've heard off the record, I've heard many players go to Australia say, भाई, it is the hardest place because वहां पे crowds आते हैं. आप साउथ अफ्रीका जाते हो तो टेस्ट मैच के crowd वहां पे बहुत कम है. England may have, but there's that whole, there's somewhat, yes, they have some, like Headingley has the army goes wild, but Australia is still hostile. Sri Lanka is chilled out. They don't say anything. हमारी टीम तो जाती नहीं है बांग्लादेश, तो हम वहां के क्या बोले. New Zealand are the sweetest people in the world. वो तो चाह के भी गाली नहीं बोल पाएंगे. So yes, Australia is the most hostile place. But that's why, like, the role that Ravi Shastri had to play during COVID. Okay, it's COVID ke time pe the crowds were not there, right? But his guidance, having played in Australia, more than once, 4 or 5 tours, him telling these guys to tough it up, to suck it up, to just perform. Because if you perform, like he said, even before the Perth series, when they had that open session, he was there, Harsha Bogle, Alan Border, Howard was the anchor. I think Fox ka was show tha. So he reminded the players, yahan pe perform karo, shut out the noise as tough as it is, and you'll be respected. So I think that's there. अब 2-3 लफंडर लोग हैं जो हद पार करेंगे, as you said, those 2 लफंडर्स were rightly removed last time from the SCG or MCG, वो जहां पे था. But I think the average Indian cricketer is in this day and age. He's seen so much. He's had to, like a Jaiswal. Jaiswal doesn't need to be abused or called something. His life has been so tough, A Sarfaraz Khan is gone so much. तो वहां पहुंच के, like, I'm not saying for a moment that it doesn't get to them. But the fact that only 2 cases have openly brought a response from a player, it just says how well groomed, going back to the 80s, the Shastri, the Gavaskar days, to now. I mean, if only 2 guys, and like you said, one guy was naive and the other guy, he felt it was racist in a very tough time in his first tour. He lost his father. He was going through a lot, But that Mohammed Siraj it just showed how tough Mohammed Siraj can actually be. So, I just think sometimes we just look too much into these things. What I do want to talk, and I'm sure you'll ask us, is why this ARG has somewhat been doused by this whole media-driven welcome. Tosbhai has already hit the nail on the head by mentioning the IPL. IPL के आने से अब वो आग दिखती ही नहीं है ना. वो Sydney Gate was the same year the IPL came. उसके बाद से यार वो, I know that even people like Alan Border has spoken about that iconic picture of Andrew Flintoff kneeling down to Brett Lee, and he said, "Those are 5 pre-IPL. ये क्या drama है यार? Be tough." So I think that's also, we should discuss more about.
Yeah, we would. This on-field fire has obviously it's missing now. We all remember it. No, we don't have to look way back. Even 2017-18, Virat Kohli, Tim Payne, that was also sort of a very angry, aggressive series. We'll come to that. But as you mentioned, as Jamie mentioned, those newspaper articles. Let's talk about them for a minute. Now, there could be 2 reasons for it. Number 1 is financial. Virat Kohli sells. It's as simple as that. Virat Kohli is your front page cover man. Your newspaper will sell. It will be talk of the town. It will go viral on social media. हम यहाँ बैठकर एक इंडिया के शहर में we are reading Australia का newspaper. We are watching their front cover just because there's this guy on your screen, and on top of that, you are writing a headline in Hindi. In proper Hindi alphabets, not just English alphabets. Writing in Hindi, it's युगों की लड़ाई. So it means you are catering to the Indian audience. You are selling yourself off with Virat Kohli, the brand. The second side to it, which I want to ask, is it possible that along with it, Virat Kohli, who is out of form, a horrible home season, last 3 to 4 years, he has been down and out. बीच में एक फेस वर्ल्ड कप के टाइम पे जरूर आया, रन आने शुरू हुए, रेड बॉल में ही इज कंप्लीटली आउट ऑफ फॉर्म. A player like this would want, yeah, let me be away from limelight, let me get those runs back, let me get back into the flow. But as soon as you land, oh, Virat Kohli is here, he's the man for India, he will perform, he will take India out of all the problems, he's the king who has landed down under. So is it also a very smart way to put a already out of form player under pressure? And same with Yashasvi Jaiswal, एक 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 न्यूज़पेपर में जायसवाल की भी फोटो है, द न्यू किंग शायद कुछ ऐसा लिखा है. आई वुड लाइक टू रिक्वेस्ट माय प्रोड्यूसर, वो भी फोटो है हमारे पास, अगर फ्लैश की जाए, द न्यू किंग. अब जायसवाल को 2 साल हुए हैं क्रिकेट खेलते हुए, ही इज फैंटाबुलस, ही हैज डन वंडरफुल इन हिज करियर सो फार. ऑस्ट्रेलिया पहली बार जा रहे हैं, नर्वस होंगे, उनको होगा सीनियर मेरे साथ जा रहे हैं, आई विल गेट यूज्ड टू इट, आई विल स्कोर सम रन्स, बट जाते ही लैंड करेंगे द न्यू किंग, ये है इंडिया का नेक्स्ट फ्यूचर, ये. इज इट आल्सो वेरी स्मार्ट वे टू पुट प्रेशर ऑन इंडियन प्लेयर्स, और डू यू थिंक इट्स आउट एंड आउट फाइनेंशियल थिंग व्हाट दे आर डूइंग?
यार अगर प्रेशर होता ना तो पहले मैच से ही दिखता आपको प्रेशर, बट क्योंकि ये सीरीज के पहले आया, राइट, दिस इज नॉट कम इन बिटवीन लाइक आफ्टर टेस्ट और बिटवीन पर टेस्ट या पिंक बॉल के पहले आ गया. यहाँ पर ये लोग ने बताया कि मेंटली टफ है और दे आर रेडी टू टेक ऑन द ऑजीज, वॉट एवर द सिचुएशन, वॉट एवर द कंडीशन, वॉट एवर द फीडबैक फ्रॉम देयर फैंस और मीडिया. क्योंकि आपने देखा जिस तरह से रिस्पॉन्ड किया पर्थ में, जिस तरह से विराट कोहली ने किया, एंड विराट कोहली, I mean, even if he is not performing, you will see him jumping around, giving those stares and ये वो. इसका मतलब ये नहीं कि, मतलब इसका मतलब ये है कि he doesn't mind all those limelight, camera and focus on him. So which is still he's enjoying that stuff. He knows this is like he's in the twilight of his career. तो जितना मिल सके उतना अच्छा है, because in personal life, I mean, he's not even shown his kid's face, right? तब वो थोड़ी पर्सनल लाइफ में एक बार ऑब्लिवियन में चल जाएंगे, वो आपको बार बार दिखाएंगे और ये वो कर, कहाँ मिलेगा मौका. तो ही नोज लास्ट 2-3 years और मे बी अनदर 3 years इन द आईपीएल. तो दिस इज एन इम्पोर्टेंट, और दिस ऑल्सो द फैक्ट दिस इज द लास्ट ऑस्ट्रेलियन सीरीज फॉर विराट कोहली. आप कितना भी कहें कि यार बहुत टेस्ट पड़ा है, मगर एक ही साल खींच सकते ज्यादा से ज्यादा. अब तो WTC भी क्वालिफाई नहीं कर रहे, तो मुझे लगता नहीं कि इतना भी वो कुछ कैरीड अवे हो जाएंगे ये सब छोटे मोटे आर्टिकल से. एंड दे नो लाइक उनको इंडिया में ही इतनी पब्लिसिटी मिलता है, इतना वो मिल जाता है, दे आर स्टिल रोमिंग अराउंड यार, खुले में घूम रहे. ऐसा नहीं कि पीपल आर मॉबिंग देम आउटसाइड द टीम होटल. एक स्टोरी देखा था कल मैंने, बड़ा इंटरेस्टिंग था, वहां पर होटल के बाहर भी लोग मॉब नहीं कर रहे थे, या दे कैन रोम अराउंड फ्रीली. तो मुझे लगता नहीं कि दे आर यूज्ड टू इट. एंड द ब्यूटी इज ऑस्ट्रेलिया में अगर तुम लाइक इफ यू आर taken on by the fans, or if you are being taunted by the media, fans, cricketers, ये वो, मगर जब आपने परफॉर्म किया, डिलीवर किया, तो वो रिस्पेक्ट अप नॉच हो जाता है, नेक्स्ट लेवल पे चला जाता है. तो उसके बाद आपकी बातें ऐसी होने लगती. तो आपका क्रिकेट स्पीक्स. इफ यू डोंट, आई मीन, आपको रिस्पॉन्ड नहीं करना, इट्स, आई मीन, फॉर क्रिकेटर्स राइट आउट देयर, आपको जबान से रिस्पॉन्ड नहीं करना है, वो मीडिया का काम है, क्योंकि वो मीडिया का प्रो जॉब है, प्रोफेशनल जॉब. आपको बल्ले से, गेंद से रिस्पॉन्ड करना, और जो सिराज को समझना चाहिए, क्योंकि आपको रिस्पेक्ट चाहिए. अगर रिस्पेक्ट चाहिए, नहीं चाहिए तो डजंट मैटर. रिस्पेक्ट चाहिए फ्रॉम द स्टैंड, दैट पीपल शाउट, पीपल स्टैंड अप व्हेन यू टेक अ 5 wicket haul, पीपल स्टैंड अप व्हेन यू गेट अ सेंचुरी, व्हेन यू विन अ मैच, when you fight it out even in a draw or maybe a losing game, you get that respect. But अगर तुम ये सब छोड़ के अपना जबान चलाओगे, then you won't be respected, you will be taunted, then you will be harassed, you will be trolled. तो आपके स्टैंड्स में आपको लोग छेड़ते रहेंगे, चिढ़ाते रहेंगे. और फैंस का क्या है, फैंस सिर्फ क्रिकेट देखने नहीं आते हैं, फैंस एंजॉय करने आता है एक्सपीरियंस. और इंडिया में ज्यादा एंजॉय करने आता है. इट्स मिक्स्ड विद रेसिज्म टॉन्ट्स. मैं देखा पर्सनली, आई हैव सीन पीपल लाइक टीजिंग दोज इंग्लिश प्लेयर्स, द ऑस्ट्रेलियन प्लेयर्स. और भी खतरनाक रहता है, ऑस्ट्रेलिया में भी उतना रहता है. बट यहाँ पर ऑजीज को शायद, या इंग्लिश को शायद हिंदी नहीं समझ में आती, हमको इंग्लिश समझ में आ जाती है. So that is something which might affect, might not. It's up to the player. It's up to an individual. So I think these guys are matured यार. ऑस्ट्रेलिया जाने से पहले 2-3 साल तो एटलीस्ट खेल चुके रहते हैं. और शुभमन गिल, सिराज देखिए, ये सब मेंटली टफ प्लेयर्स. These people have come from. आप इंडियन क्रिकेटर्स देखो, हिस्ट्री देखो, प्रोफाइल देखो, ये सब स्ट्रगल से आए हुए हैं. इतना आसान नहीं होता इंडिया खेलना. 140 करोड़ को बीट करके मेंटली टफ होके 11 में आना. It's not easy. Not any Tom, Dick and Harry cannot play.
Yeah, absolutely. As Jamie and you both perfectly said that they have already seen these sort of situations. Yes, these are at international level in a different country, but they are used to all this, and they have a lot of senior players, coaches around to tell them how to, just cancel out all the white noise around you. But Jamie, let's take this Siraj and Travis Head incident, for example. Something happens. Travis Head scores 140. Siraj dismisses him at the score of 140 when Head is going back. Siraj says something. Head says something in the post-match press conference. Travis Head comes out and apparently lies that I said well bowled, while it's pretty clear in the highlights it's not well bowled. Uh, Whatever they had after the match, they hugged it out. Everything good, and they went back to their hotels. Now they are in Brisbane. But after this, all the former Australian cricketers jump on the bandwagon. Now there are statements of why Siraj needed to do that. Siraj is very aggressive, unnecessarily aggressive. Okay, you are talking about that incident. It's given. Now Michael Clark and Mark Taylor have gone on to why does Siraj does celeb appeal? Why does he celebrate while appealing? ICC should ban him. They should fine him. It is wrong. The seniors need to sit with him. He is doing something wrong. And now they know that Mohammed Siraj is already sort of under pressure because of all these things. ICC has fined him and he's under the radar. He has, one whatever say ICC code of conduct ka wo lag jata hai. And now they're coming out and asking why is he celeb repealing? He should be fined for this also. ICC itna ignorant kaise hai? Michael Clark saying Brett Lee used to get fined. So do you think former Australian cricketers also at times use their position or the platform they are in very smartly and try to put players under pressure, or all this is because they are being paid, so it's their job, so they come out and say anything they want?
No, 100%. They're trying to find a weak link and they're trying to add that pressure. I mean, let's not forget, Mark Taylor captained Ricky Ponting and Michael Clark played under Ricky Ponting. Ricky Ponting was a fantastic batsman. आज मैं उनकी बातें सुनता हूँ, and I laugh like, really? Yeah, आप कह रहे हो? I mean, Ricky Ponting, this guy, he didn't appeal. He would go up to the umpire wagging his finger. I was a lot younger. I was not a rookie journalist. I had done about 3.5 years in journalism, but I was very active on Facebook. And I wrote this long rant. When I look back now, it was very poorly constructed because it came out of a moment of anger, which I shouldn't have done. But this man, I mean, anyone who's played with him will know that ye to apne time mein to he had no regard for the umpire, right?
Yeah.
Michael Slater was going after S. Venkataraman. ये तो चुपचाप करके मैच देख रहा था कैप्टन होक, and Steve Waugh and all. So I like Michael Vaughan is like the number one culprit because he flip flops every day. Michael Vaughan is actually an Indian in disguise. उनकी जो हरकतें हैं, इनके जो comments हैं, एक दिन या एक दिन वहाँ, he's the average Indian fan. But these guys, look, don't read too much in them. Mark Taylor is still slightly suave and experienced as compared to Michael Clark. I have a lot more regard for Mark Taylor than I do for Michael Clark because we've heard like back in the day when that 2001 series started, the Great Series, there was a very, very, very big Australian player who part of that series. He was sitting next to the coach at the first press conference. ये मैंने सुना है. Tozbhai has worked and shared press boxes and hotel rooms with the guys who told me this. Mics वहां पे लगे हैं, ठीक है. He's not even pretending. He's saying, "Oh God, I'm back in this bloody country." So let's not read too much into these guys. They're Australians. They have a knack, and most of it is done with design to try and needle people. They're not just bati. Everything is carefully played out. So we've heard this for years. It's not going to go away.
Yeah.
It makes for good social media thing, but this is clearly a tactic to try and back up the. इनकी टीम में pressure में है. They know कि भाई इनकी batting shaky है. India can actually come back. This green mamba that we're hearing, इतिहास गवाह है कि modern era में जब भी आपने green top दिया है, उतना ही सफल इंडिया के bowlers हो सकते हैं. So it's just a way to try and needle up the Indians, and the series is only 1-1. It's not 3-0 or 2-0. So it's good fun to watch from the outside. चलता आया है, चलने दो इस सब.
Well, चलता रहेगा. I don't think हम मना करें, हाँ करें. Australia में this goes on. How's your take on former cricketers? Greg Chappell, in fact, he has come out and apparently talked about Virat and Rohit कि वो तो senior player हैं, वो तो खेलना चाहेंगे. It's up to the selectors. They need to be bold. They need to be passive. They need to know when these two should end their career. So it is also a very indirect way of putting pressure on the senior batters that आपका time आ रहा है, आपकी नहीं चलेगी. Selectors को strong होना पड़ेगा. वो उनको, if they want, they should obviously have them out of the team, they would want to play. You can see the quote on your screen. You know yourself whether you're at a peak or not, but they love playing the game. And he's talking about how the selection policies and selection panels need to make those tough decisions. So these former cricketers coming out, and it has nothing to do with what's happening on the field. Siraj-Head ka incident, okay, yeah, it happened, so you are talking about it. So do you think these are also very smart ways of putting pressure on the opposition?
यार ग्रेग चैपल को मुझे लगता नहीं है कोई सीरियसली लेता होगा, स्पेशली आफ्टर दैट हिज कोचिंग स्टिंट। आई मीन उन्होंने बहुत सारे लोगों को बाहर करने की कोशिश की थी तभी, और तभी उनको बाहर हो गए थे। सो आई डोंट थिंक सो रोहित एंड विराट, आई मीन दे आर स्मार्ट पीपल यार, दे आर एक्सपीरियंस गाइस, दे वोंट टेक इट सो सीरियसली यार। समबडी लाइक with all due respect to your former legend, a great Greg Chappell is saying something like this, they won't take it seriously because they have seen the game. The modern day game, it's completely different from what they used to play earlier. Whether it's Greg Chappell, Mark Tiller, or Ricky Ponting, I mean, he's seen the phase of the IPL. So these guys, Indian cricketers, go through a lot of different situations, different criticisms. They are prone to it, they are used to it. I mean, ये तो ऑस्ट्रेलिया में हो रहा है यार। ऐसा क्रिटिसिज्म खतरनाक टीवी चैनल्स पे देखो यार, आप देखो हमारे हमारे सोशल मीडिया पे, तो जो इंडियन क्रिकेट को जो प्रेशर यहाँ से मिलता है वहां से ये तो कुछ नहीं। आई मीन दिस इज नॉट anything compared to what they are criticized or taunted, trolled from India, whether it's Rohit's fan club, whether it's Virat's fan club, they go at each other. So that is something, I hope they are not reading all these things here, because if they start, at the end of the day, they are human beings, and agar some conscious mind mein baith gaya hai, so it starts affecting you. So I don't want them to read all these things, because see, again, I mean, it strikes Siraj ko khas karke, if somebody makes him understand what Greg Chappell or Taylor or Ricky Ponting is trying to say, अगर उसने सीरियसली ले लिया और वो अग्रेशन बाहर आया, and if he delivers, you never know, it might reverse effect, because Siraj is somebody like a Virat Kohli. Again, I mean, same उनका theoretical रहता है, but then anger issues भी बहुत है। तो अगर मतलब वो चार्ज में परफॉर्मेंस डिलीवर हो गया, you never know, he might come out with a match winning performance in Gabba. But if he takes it like चिन ये एकदम ही रिलैक्स करके ले लिया, या if he is not, I mean, he shouldn't be aware, just keep on, like, because परफॉर्मेंसेस तो हो रहे नहीं है। 4 विकेट जो लास्ट में भी मिली तो इतना लूजिंग कॉज में भी आई। आई थिंक, आई बिलीव कि अगर सिराज को निडल करेंगे तो ही माइट पुश हिमसेल्फ, बिकॉज दैट इज द ओनली वे, आई गेस, to extract some kind of performance, some kind of energy, some kind of bouncers, to attack on a green track which is looking green right now. You never know what would happen day after tomorrow, suddenly or sapat kar lenge. So I think some things they have to deal in a very strategical manner, otherwise सोच समझ के, because social media is something which gives you access to each and everything, right? Each and everything, because you have a phone and then you have everything to read out. So I think the cricketers are smart enough to handle all these criticisms and trollings and taunts.
Absolutely, and this Siraj coming back was supposed to be my last question. I'll talk about this, but before that, Jimmy, something we touched upon, the Border Gavaskar Trophy getting more friendlier nowadays. It's all hunky dory on the field between the players. Is it the IPL effect? Is it the BCCI money effect? That you want BCCI and the Indian players to be very best of friends, because they bring in a lot of money. You can see it. I would have never imagined a 2015, 2016 Virat Kohli arms in arms with any Australian player, at least on the field. I'm not saying he didn't have friends in Australian team. He had. On the field, he was Virat Kohli. Sorry, you are opponent. You are an opponent. Of the field, in the hotel, out somewhere, we'll be friends if you want to be. What is the reason, and do you think that has impacted in any way, that has impacted the cricket on the field? Because जब aggression होता है तो cricket also comes out with ego, with a lot more aggression, a lot more passion, sort of. Do you think this all friendliness between the two teams have somehow deteriorated the quality of cricket on the field?
I don't know if it's deteriorated, because for the last 15, 18, 20 years, these two teams have done cricket like no other team has, with all due respect to the Ashes and baseball, all that stuff. I mean, it's just been that 2001 series changed the game. I know 2004 was very one-sided when Ricky Ponting came and then he got injured, and then Adam Gilchrist led them, and they actually won in 2004. But yes, as you mentioned, the BCCI clout, the BCCI money, the IPL, I mean, imagine for years, not these guys because age factor, but for years, Indian Aussies, where would they play together? There was World Series cricket, And then there was county cricket, right? A very few Indians, unlike West Indies and Pakistanis, went there and played Sheffield Shield. But a lot of these guys played together in county cricket. But that was in the 80s and then in the 90s, but अब तो वो भी नहीं है. हमारे बहुत कम लोग काउंटी खेलते हैं. अभी भी है, ऐसी बात नहीं है. But you go from respecting or intimidating or feeling intimidated by or being any word you use, any adjective used to describe an India-Australia relationship, that was diluted when suddenly you're sharing a dressing room, you're in the same franchise. पहले में तो वो बड़े infamous parties होते थे. When you're drinking, when you're socializing, when you're womanizing, all ये सब होता था, okay? It brings you together, right? So इसमें positives बहुत हुए हैं. हमारे young players को एक अच्छा मौका मिला to rub shoulders with Mitchell Stark, Pat Cummins, David Warner back in the day, Glenn McGrath, बहुत लोग. But I think it has sort of spilled over. 2017-18 सीरीज में वो brain fade वाला बात हुआ था between Smith and Virat Kohli. Things got heated there. Tim Payne said some things to Murli Vijay. Murli Vijay couldn't say it back, but indirectly he got Rishabh Pant to do the job. So there's been spice, but it's not that fierce or ugly cricket that we saw in the 90s at least. 80s मुझे ज़्यादा याद नहीं है, सुनने में आया है. But 90s there was a bit of hostility. Also look where is India on the global charts, right? A lot of Indian interest business are in Australia. The two need commerce. Adam Gilchrist has come to India more often to be part of. There's a university in Australia where for many years he was the brand ambassador. I've seen him and Ricky Ponting at press conferences in India for non-related things, be it book launches, the first place to now sell your book. So it's just commerce. It's all these factors we've discussed. But I'm glad कि इसके बावजूद for 20 odd years they've given us dynamite cricket. मुझे कोई boring test match तो याद नहीं है. जब draw भी हुए हैं, चाहे रांची हो या सिडनी हो, draw maybe. Then that Mohali match, VVS Lakshman batting with the tail, So we've seen. I cannot remember a dull India Australia test match since coming up to 24 years.
Yeah, absolutely. Even the last series in Australia, that Gaba series, I don't remember any fights, out and out fights in that series. But that Sydney game, you talked about the Gaba game. They were unmatched games, or itni koi fight nahi thi. This on your screen 2017-18, it was a different fun altogether. First time India won on Australian soil, a test series on Australian soil. It was a series to remember. But Taus, your take on the temperature going down between the two teams in Border Gavaskar now because of IPL, because of whatever financial BCCI money reasons, that they have become friends. As Jamie said, that they have played together in IPL for so many years. They have partied together. They have shared a lot of hotels, traveling to and fro, stadiums, airports, flights. So when you travel, when you become so close, I would have never imagined a Virat Kohli and AB de Villiers to be best of friends, two completely different individuals from different part of the planets, not even neighbors country-wise, different continents altogether. This is the beauty of IPL. But do you think that has, क्योंकि fans want this यार, सिराज और ट्रेविस हेड के बीच में जो हुआ, fans were super happy है, लड़ो हमें तो लड़ाई देखनी है, that is something we want to watch. But वो fans के लिए थोड़ा कम हो गया है, वो aggression कम हो गया है. But your take on BGT and in fact even India England, melting down, थोड़ा और कम हल्का हो रहा है.
IPL is one of the factor, and it's not just money. I guess it's more about like people have started knowing यार India, मतलब पहले जब maybe they were not coming regularly, Aussies may not know, or maybe England may not know कि India is beyond whatever they might have thought, whatever they might have made a picture out of, like having seen those Dharavi kind of movies, ये वो, तो एक picture लेके वो एक और natural instinct आ जाता है थोड़ा यार क्या है. But then once they got into this IPL, once they got that exposure, once they came to know about what is India actually, it's not just the rural India which is shown in Oscar Hollywood movies or maybe Bollywood movies, but it's bigger and much more developed. It's developing now. It's a developing nation. Apart from that, it's the fifth largest economy. So dhire it starts affecting you, and then you start meeting every year. I mean, every individual is an exposed person. I mean, if you're on social media, internet, you're an exposed person. You know exactly what kind of character he would be because you are real in life. I mean, whatever you are on the media, you will be perceived as that. You won't be perceived. So, abhi परसेप्शन का गेम है बेसिकली, और वो परसेप्शन की वजह से फ्रेंडली दिख रहे हैं यहाँ पर. आई मीन नोबडी वुड डेयर टू से एनीथिंग ऑन सोशल मीडिया टू फैंस. तो आप जो फैंस को देखोगे वो आप उनको भी दिखेगा, जो ऑपोजिट के क्रिकेटर्स है, तो फ्रेंडली नेचर. जितना आप रहोगे साथ में, आप कभी ऐसा स्विच आएगा आईपीएल में कि आप दोनों साथ में खेलोगे, तो क्रिकेट साथ में खेलना, आप दुश्मनी रख के तो नहीं खेल सकते ना. इट्स अ टीम गेम एट द एंड ऑफ द डे. So you know कि there will be situations where you will have to play together, where you have to be playing against each other. There will be situations where you will take on. I mean आईपीएल में भी होता है यार. आईपीएल में आपस में हरभजन श्रीशांत ने झगड़ा कर लिया था. So these things happen. Heat of the moment होता है at the end. But then जो ऑस्ट्रेलिया एक टाइम पे सोचता था कि यार इंडिया, शायद मुझे लगता है ऐसा फैक्टर होगा कि वो उनके मन में ऐसा रूरल इंडिया होगा, इंडिया वैसा होगा. बट देन दैट हैज बीन एक्सपोज थैंक्स टू द आईपीएल कि यार it's not just rural India, it's money power, it's a developing nation, and you have everything over here you wish, whatever you need. मुझे लगता है ऑस्ट्रेलिया में भी उतना नहीं होगा जितना इंडिया में, मुंबई या दिल्ली या कहीं पर भी होगा. Party
Absolutely. And I
scene.
also, apart from all this, I also believe that now both the teams are at the same level. Earlier, India had never won a series in Australia. So, Australia, in a way, used to look down upon the Indian Test team that we are the superior side here. We have won in our country. We obviously win in our country. And after 2017, because in 2015-16, Mitchell Johnson, Virat Kohli, that series was also fire. 2017-18 was also fire, but India won. And from that day, from that series onwards, Australia started looking India at their own level or better than them. Actually, in the last 10 years they have not won a border Gavaskar trophy, so we are slightly better than them. तो वो भी थोड़ा meltdown हो गया है. But Jimmy, एक चीज जो ताउस जिस पे बात कर चुके हैं, which was supposed to be my last question before the comments, Mohammed Siraj, now that all this has happened to Mohammed Siraj, we all saw in Sydney last time around, he was the victim of racial abuse. There were fans who were being racist. They passed on the remarks in Sydney. Then he went on to Gaba, and then 5 wickets, a 5 wicket haul in Gaba, and he showed what he can do with the ball in hand. Could we see a different Mohammed Siraj in Gaba now? And same ground, well, that is a good thing. It's the same ground, but he's also coming in from a lot of heat, not just from the on-field stuff, but also off-field remarks. Could we see a different Mohammed Siraj?
I hope so, because the Mohammed Siraj which we saw in Adelaide is not what you want in at the Gabba, right? You want him. Now, whether it's because he's fired himself up, I would hope it's because he's gone back and sat with the various analysts and realized कि भाई मैच के पहले हिस्से में जो मुझे मौका मिला वो तो मैंने गवा दिया. I mean, the sight of McSweeney leaving the ball so often, Labuschagne, why did you allow those guys to leave, right? Again, Jasprit Bumrah, his first thing was 11 overs, 4 maiden, 16 runs. Not a wicket-taking Bumrah, but he still got a wicket. Siraj got a wicket much deeper into the match. जब match already खत्म हो चुका था, right? I think his second wicket, मुझे याद नहीं है, I think the second wicket or first wicket was actually Siraj-Head, right? If I'm not mistaken. And then he got 3 more later or 2 more later. जो भी है. Yeah. Right. So if your first wicket is a guy who, like I said that day when we discussed this, मैंने कहा कल क्या होने वाला है? कल मैन ऑफ द मैच ट्रेविस हेड रहेंगे, उनकी टीम जीत जाएगी और वो घर पे कमरे में बैठ के वो हंस रहे होंगे, right? So Mohammed Siraj has to understand, okay, yes, maybe I don't agree with him being fined so much. I don't agree with the backlash. But has Mohammed Siraj learned from his bowling performance before he got head? Head go out karne ke baad he got cheap wickets. But like Tawazbhai also mentioned, those 4 wickets have to become something better. If it's green, if it's shaved off by day after tomorrow, this is the best place he's going to get after Perth to bowl. Melbourne, bhul jao, Sydney, bhul jao. He might do wonders. He was very good 4 years ago. But this is the best way for Mohammed Siraj to answer people without doing this, without jumping, without going to the umpires and complaining. Take a 5-wicket haul again, कोई कुछ नहीं बोलेगा उसके बारे में. He just has to let what has got him into the Indian Test team. हरकतें? Absolutely not. Years of bloody good work with the red ball for Hyderabad, and then that golden period where India A tours. इंडिया ए टूर अब कहाँ हो रहा है, कहाँ है वो ए सीरीज? मानता हूँ कोविड हो गया, लेकिन कोविड को गए भी तो 2 साल हो गए ना. The moment the robust India A series come back, when the team is going to Australia, England, South Africa, New Zealand, you'll find 10 more Mohammed Sirajes coming through, and that's what these guys have to remember. How did he leave Australia 4 years ago with the crowd saying, "Boss, ये कहाँ से आया? ऑटो वाले का बेटा कहाँ से आ गया?" That is the Mohammed Siraj all of us need to be discussing, not the guy who's. I mean, we saw the video. Travis Head is saying well bowled. Mohammed Siraj has actually come and lied to us with the host broadcasters. Travis Head didn't lie. I will call a spade a spade. If anyone's lied, it's Mohammed Siraj, because you're arguing against video footage. All three of us have mentioned on past shows. We can see him saying well bowled. Uska to back view hai na. So I'm saying don't, and I found it very rich. Who's interviewing him? Harbhajan Singh. So boss, let's, I don't give too much importance to that interview. Put this behind. Forget about this. Take 5 wickets and earn the respect of the Indian fans and the Australian fans. उसके बाद आपको कोई heckle नहीं करेगा. That's my very basic view on this.
But do you think also you need a character like Ravi Shastri in the dressing room to push a bowler like Mohammed Siraj to give it back? Shastri often, till now, he says that you need to give it back with the ball in hand. He never says that you also, fight a lot. You also give it back, but with your performances. And a character like Ravi Shastri in the dressing room could have done that. And Gautam Gambhir, how important is Gautam Gambhir or Rohit Sharma's role in this to channelize all that has happened with Siraj and tell him to use that and give it back with his performance?
I'll keep it short. It's huge. But with a very small sample size, what we've seen, heard of Ravi Shastri giving it off, he gave it up as a player and a coach in the Australian way. On a small sample size, unfortunately, what I've seen and what I've looked at, Gambhir's natural response is F. बहुत फर्क है. For the longest time, जब तक मैं शायद 17-18 शायद 20 का था, I thought sledging Aussies was just giving माँ की गाली. No, it's an art which only very sharp-minded people, Gavaskar, Shastri, also being Mumbaikars has a big factor. They can understand. They can give. Look at Shastri. The guy is ridiculed. I've also been critical. But उस हीरोपंथी के पीछे भाई 1.5 शाना दिमाग है. He got under. Unfortunately, Gautam Gambhir, be it Afridi, be it Shane Watson, it was Sida wo gali. So I don't think Gambhir has it. Maybe he's learned more. I don't think he's the best person. The channelizing, Shastri se behtar mere hisab se koi nahi hai.
Yeah, also Shastri, and in this team, I believe Virat Kohli, he has brought out centuries whenever he has fought with people. So he has channelized all this aggression into his performances. Yes, Taus.
No, I can only imagine Rohit Sharma saying, "छोड़ना यार, क्या कर रहा है, छोड़ना," because he doesn't get all into all these things, right? अरे छोड़ना.
Rohit Sharma, he to leaves in the field only. छोड़ना है, करो जो करना है. That is a different thing altogether. But we have quite a few comments here. We'll take the comments before we end this live. I'd like to request my producer to flash some comments on the screen. Ujjwal Maurya is here. I don't care about WTC. बस ये सीरीज जीत जाए, ऑस्ट्रेलिया वालों की सारी हेकड़ी निकल जाएगी. I believe this is the sentiment that the fans have. I also believe the fans want to see India in WTC final, but as of now, they want to see Australia being desperate and them losing their 3rd consecutive home series against India. And hopefully that happens. As of now, it looks really difficult. It's a very good series. 3 very good matches are lined up. Hopefully India comes out as the winner. Nowadays, Australia cricket have to respect our players because of BCCI's money. Absolutely, Ujjwal. We have discussed this, that because of BCCI money, stature, IPL, a lot of friendship as well. Also, as I said, that they are seeing India.
But Kanav, but a lot of cricketers have left IPL. I mean, they have not played IPL because of Mitchell Starc. Only recently he came, so he gave priority to their teams, right? Not every time they give priority to their teams. Then they come to IPL. Yeah, there might be exceptions. There might be players who are available or who play all formats and who get good money. But then Australians or maybe English, they give priority to their country first. It's country first for them, whether it's Test cricket or ODI. Then comes the IPL. So I don't think so. It's money all the time. It's something like they're getting an opportunity and then respect and the exposure that they're getting, that okay, cricket sab acha khel rahe, equal khel rahe, so everybody should be respected. And mark that ki even Pakistani players, they have friendly relations with India. हम कितना भी माहौल बना दें पाकिस्तान के मैच के पहले, बट गिफ्ट्स बुमराह और ये एक्सचेंज करते रहते शाहीन अफरीदी, और उनको आईपीएल भी खेलने नहीं मिलता है. तो मतलब प्लेयर्स का सिचुएशन उनको, ऑल ऑफ देम आर प्रो प्लेयर्स, so they know what matters. They don't play to the gallery when it comes to serious matches, Test cricket or World Cups. Yeah, IPL में आप देखोगे Banters ये वो छक्का playing to the gallery, वो वहां पर दिख जाएगा. इंटरनेशनल क्रिकेट में मुझे लगता है नहीं इतना आपको देखने मिलेगा playing to the gallery. Otherwise, it's all serious cricket.
India Pakistan, though, I believe there's no bilateral cricket, so there's no scope of fights or all that because you don't meet each other that often. You rarely meet in a once in a year or two, so it's good to have be friendly. With IPL, what you said that only Mitchell Stark is playing. Well, there are different players: Pat Cummins, Travis Head, Mitchell Marsh. Everybody is in the IPL, and those who are not, they want to play IPL. They want to get in a team. We have seen Steven Smith putting his name in the auctions, Manas Labuschagne. So they want to be in the good books of Indian players of BCCI. We see Josh Hazelwood, Virat Kohli, chatting a lot nowadays also in this series also because now they are going to play for RCB together again. But it is what it is. The series is not what it used to be. Aggression wise, cricket quality of cricket has only increased series by series. Next one. Karthik, who will be the lone spinner or will they go with two? Jamie, we'll move on to the on-field stuff. We did a live yesterday where we talked about the playing 11, but if you want to briefly answer Karthik, who will be the lone spinner or will India go with two spinners?
एक ही स्पिनर चाहिए आपको और वो भी like we discussed in a couple shows you're playing that spinner more for his batting especially Jaddu or I don't know if the grass is not shaved off they may even drop a spinner and they may add a batsman or they may even go with five pacers because if it's green and you're looking at a 3-day finish why would you play a spinner so we'll know tomorrow when we sit down tomorrow to do a preview and the last PC has been done the last nets will have I think we'll do a detailed show on this probably tomorrow अभी
Absolutely.
it's too early because we don't know कल क्या होगा इस पे
Yeah, और पिच जो आज दिखती है वो परसों नहीं दिखेगी. There will be a lot of rolling, a lot of shredding of the grass. Tomorrow night probably we'll get a clearer picture, but tomorrow at 6:30 p.m. we'll be there live with you discussing all the preview things, all the playing 11 combinations that India could go for or should go for. Please be there with us tomorrow at 6:30 p.m. with your comments and your questions. Do we have one more comment? I think we have one more comment. I'd like to request my producer, Ujjal Maurya. Green top is like turning tracks. It evens out the two things. Absolutely, I fully agree. Taus, do you agree? Spinning, हम घर पे spin tracks बनाते हैं, वो even out हो जाते हैं, even out के हम हारते हैं. वहाँ पर with these sort of pitches, with the bowling lineup that India has and the fragile batting lineup that Australia has, will it even out things if it's a out and out green track?
Absolutely. I mean, both will be scared. Both the teams will be scared because they're not. I mean, Jasprit Bumrah, right? It boils down to Jasprit Bumrah for Team India. And if it's green track, the other guys will look as dangerous as they were not in the last Test match in Adelaide. So I think it evens out because we have a better attack which we never used to have before. I mean, पहले आपके पास सिर्फ कुंबले हरभजन दिखते थे या बज्जी या जवगल श्रीनाथ या जहीर खान रहे अब यहाँ पर झुंड लेके आते हैं फास्ट बॉलर्स का which is very heartening and good to see that India has started producing. अगर if Shami was around, I mean we would have been on top yeah, in this series.
The Shammi debate. It's been going on for a long time. Obviously, we'll see tomorrow what happens. Thank you so much, Jamie. Thank you so much, Taus, for connecting with us. Thank you so much to all our viewers. Do connect with us at 6:30 p.m. tomorrow. We'll discuss the preview. We'll do a preview of the India vs Australia third test in Brisbane. Until then, do subscribe to the CricketNext YouTube channel, hit the bell icon, and follow us across all our social media platforms. Thank you and have a good night.